Alright, so finally, some justice is served. XXXTentacion, four guys. This started out with four young men being charged for the murder or death of rapper XXXTentacion. Four of them. But one of them turned against the group, ended up testifying against them, and then today we have a guilty verdict for all three. The one who went against the group, he already pled guilty to a lesser charge a year ago in exchange for, some lickies and chewies and all that. But that's how it goes. And I hope young people really get a message from this, though, because nobody is loyal. I've seen every single one of these court cases, from the whole Young Thug and his counterparts flipping out on him, to, just every time I watch First 48 when they're inside of that interrogation room. Everybody is tough until they're put in one of those rooms and they realize how many years they're facing. And they also realize that it's beyond their power to actually get out of this, right? They're looking at a lot of time in prison. Suddenly, 10 toes down and solid as a rock, gets very shaky. So, three men accused of killing 20-year-old rapper XXXTentacion during a 2018 ambush robbery, which was caught on tape, by the way, has now been found guilty. All of them have been found guilty. Good. So a Florida jury convicted Michael Boatwright, he's 27 years old now, Dedrick Williams, he's 26 years old now, and Trayvon Newsome, he's 24 years old now. They were all convicted on Monday, March 20th, after the jury deliberated for more than a week. All three of them were charged with first-degree murder in connection to the death of the controversial rapper. We will talk in a minute about why X was controversial. However, all three of them have been found guilty, and they've been found guilty on a first-degree murder charge. Another man, who is Robert Allen, like I said before, he pled guilty last year already. They gave him the lickies and chewies and he bit into it. Testify against the rest, help us to get a solid case, and you could plead guilty to a lesser charge and therefore serve less time in prison. He said, I'll take it. And he went ahead and he said a bunch of stuff, who planned it, why he didn't get a good amount of the money, equal share of the money in the robbery, because he wasn't really in the robbery. We watched his testimony. And he pled to second-degree murder. Now, the other three found guilty of first-degree murder, they all face a possible life behind bars at this point. Rapper XXXTentacion, whose real name was Jase Onfroy, he was shot and killed in broad daylight in Florida in June of 2018 on camera. He was waiting outside of a motorcycle shop, chilling for a minute, and then he was leaving when he was approached by two armed masked men who, as you can see in the video, pulled up, put their vehicle across the road in front of his vehicle, ran out, guns up, guns to his face, pointing into his vehicle, right, and demanded some property that he had in his possession. At least one of the men shot him during a struggle that police now says it lasted about 45 seconds. The struggle ended up with one of the suspects grabbing a Louis Vuitton sack, a bag that was full of money. The bag had 50,000 US dollars in cash in it. The rapper XXXTentacion, he had just took that money out of the bank and he went there to go purchase a motorcycle, right? He was going to buy his motorcycle cash. So when they got to him, it was like they must have been trailing him, seeing that he went and took the money out of the bank, and then, because how else would they have known? Or it was just a lucky lick, right? Now, the funny thing is, I think they were trailing him, which, again, you've heard people like Jim Jones and others say that being a rapper is dangerous. I would go ahead and say that being a successful rapper is dangerous, because you're not only under heavy scrutiny by, say, law enforcement, but you more than likely are a sitting target, especially if you wear like expensive jewelry. It's a common thing that they do. $50,000 on a ring, $250,000 on a chain, or a pendant, a medallion, or some piece of jewelry that can buy somebody a house. You're a walking lick. You understand? In this case, it was XXXTentacion driving around in a very expensive car with the Lamborghini doors on it, BMW, and he had $50,000 cash on him. There's a lot of people right now that have been working for years, and if you check their savings account, they don't have $50,000 saved up towards retirement or anything. So for a young dude to be out here flashing $50,000, right, in a bag, just going to go frivolously spend it to buy a motorcycle, that's to give you an idea. A walking lick. Now, during the trial, though, the lawyer for Boatwright, which is one of the people who were convicted, his lawyer argued that his client's DNA was never found on XXXTentacion's body. He said that the DNA of the other two men did not match either. This was their arguing point. Now, this is what an attorney is supposed to do. He's supposed to try to get his client off. If he can't get you off, he's supposed to get you the least time as possible. Whoever XXXTentacion struggled with, he said, is not in this courtroom today. Joseph Kimmock was the name of that attorney, and he was trying to make a point that they got the wrong persons. The fourth suspect, who is Alan, he testified already against the other three after he pleaded guilty last year. Now, Alan already told them the whole story. Yes, it was us. They made Alan watch the video in court. Alan said, yep, that was him. That was him. This over here. I wasn't on screen because I wasn't in it. At last minute, I decided I didn't want to do it. So they had actually said I shouldn't get any of the money, all this other stuff. Now, lawyers for the other suspects have argued that Alan lied about his client's involvement in the robbery and death. Hey, that didn't fly too far, right? I mean, they were masked up. You couldn't really see who it was. Maybe if Alan had kept his mouth shut, nobody would have gotten caught with this, because the lawyers did have a good argument that no DNA evidence puts their clients at the scene. However, because of the story that Alan already told when he flipped on the group, they already had a participating member of the group, a criminal, that gave them the whole layout, who planned it, how they executed it, and all that other stuff, right? They also claimed that the investigators had botched the case and failed to consider other suspects except for their own. Well, that's because they had pretty strong proof. Lead prosecutor Pascal Achille, however, said that the lack of DNA evidence was completely irrelevant. Why? Because the cell phone data from each one of these individuals' phones showed that all of the accused were together at that location at that time when that crime went down. Boom. Nothing else to be said. So with that cell phone location data, with the videotape, and with the Alan flipping on a group and identifying everybody else on video, it was a wrap. So the attorney said that the Bluetooth data shows the accused were in the same SUV used by the shooters at that same time. Prosecutors presented surveillance video from the motorcycle shop as evidence, as well as cell phone videos that the accused allegedly took hours after the killing, showing them on social media flashing cash, flashing $100 bills like dummies. But that's the way of the world today. You know, young people do a lot of dirt. They put it on social media. They put it in rap songs. They speak about it. They brag about it. And next thing you know, they're standing before a judge facing the rest of their life in prison. And they're turning around to call everybody else a snitch when you told on yourself. After they robbed XXXTentacion, I remember feeling disgusted because I saw the video. They were on social media, you know, showing off all the money, because this was a lick for them. Like I said before, a lot of people work many years And, they barely make enough to get by on a daily basis, month to month, week to week, year to year. They don't have $50,000 saved up for an emergency. They don't have $50,000 saved up towards retirement or anything like that. So for these young men to come up with 50,000 in one bag, cash, they thought that it was a whole lot of money and they could go parading the money around on social media. XXXTentacion's music then exploded. His music basically had a lot of themes of depression and loneliness and abandonment and suicide. And I guess a lot of people feel abandoned and depressed and lonely and, probably harbor thoughts of suicide or killing somebody, homicidal thoughts. So they took to his music pretty well. The platinum selling rising rap artist faced some controversies in his very short career. His personal life was plagued by allegations of domestic violence. It is reported that he was actually facing 15 felony charges at the time of his death, including aggravated battery of a pregnant woman, domestic battery by strangulation, and even witness tampering. It was said that he might have been on his way to prison had he not died. I don't know how true that is. It was also said that, he was looking at a pretty lengthy amount of time behind bars had he not died. I remember when he passed away, the crowd was split. Yes, there were people crying. Yes, there were some people saying, oh my gosh. Yes, there were other people that were saying that Drake did it. Drake, the rapper, did it. Why? Because I don't know if XXXTentacion was doing this for a publicity stunt to promote his music. If you're going to put a project out, what better way to promote your project than to drum up some kind of beef between you and the number one person at the top of the charts, right? Automatically, his fan base, they're going to start paying attention to you because you're making noise in the industry, you're making good music, and they want to know what the beef is about. So he had came out and he had accused Drake of stealing his flow, stealing his style, using his words and whatever. And it turned out pretty bad because he started saying stuff like, if anything happens to me, just know that Drake did it. Right. So during the trial, there was a point where even Drake was subpoenaed to show up at the trial to clear his name, which Drake said, man, fuck that. I'm not going to no trial. I had nothing to do with his death. Y'all have the people. Y'all have the videotape. Y'all have a confession of one of the people that participated. Why are y'all putting me in this? Because somebody called my name like years ago. Leave me out of this. So they were forced to speak to Drake's attorneys, not to him. And by right, I think that that was the right thing for Drake to do. Anyhow, back to XXXTentacion. I remember there were a lot of people that were saying, yeah, he's a woman beater and he's disrespectful and he's aggressive and overly aggressive for no reason. And especially the disrespectful part, because X was the kind of guy that spoke his mind, right? And he was small in stature, but he wasn't afraid to fight either. And I done heard that he would fight just about anybody. And he was knocking some people on their ass too, right? So some people didn't like him. So when this happened to him, there were a lot of people that were saying that's his karma. However, if you remember at the end of his life, like right before his life was taken, he was pretty much changing himself. He was going through this metamorphosis. He was going through this change. He was like becoming enlightened. He was telling people like, don't get stuck in the matrix, like get up and live, like pursue your full potential with all your desires and lock into what it is that you came to earth to do, etc. He just started becoming like this guru. It was kind of eerie. It was kind of almost like he knew that his end was near, but we just saw it as he suddenly became this young person with old knowledge kind of thing. Anyways, that was that. And he ended up passing away after this incident. Now, his song, Look at Me, that song took off on SoundCloud. And that song went from SoundCloud to exploding on the Billboard Hot 100 charts. Many of his tracks climbed up the charts in many different first world countries to include the UK and the US shortly after his death. And of course, his memorial was attended by thousands of fans. thousands of fans. It was just an outpouring of love and support. And his child, his son, was born shortly after he passed away. So he didn't even get a chance to see his son in real life. But I know that financially, his son will be okay. And that's about it, man. It's sad. It's sad. He lost his life, and justice is served, right? Leave your comments in the comment section below. Tell me what you think about this one. Do you think that rap by itself is a dangerous profession, or do you think that it's the individually? For instance, it's the rapper and what the rapper is involved in, or how the rapper carries themselves. I'll catch y'all on the next video. It's Hot Topics TV. You already know if the topic is hot, we're on it. I'm out.